Hey, bonsoir. Sandy Levesque here. Welcome to Become the Change, whether you're watching live or you're watching this later on. This show is all about conscious activism, looking at people, projects that can inspire you, inspire us to know that you can do stuff in the world, that you can start to create ripples of change and be the change that you wish to see, but also in a very sort of active way, not just kind of like you hope that you're making some change, which is fine, and that's good too. But I have a background of activism and campaigning, which I left after 10 years because I got very ill, and I realized I was always focusing on problems. So I sort of stopped doing it altogether for about 4 years, became a Zumba instructor, and realized recently that activism doesn't have to be getting angry about things, it has to be getting angry about the things you don't like. It can be getting excited about the things that you would like to see, about the things you'd like to see more of. And so I've started this show to do what I can to contribute to that. I hope it will inspire you with any ideas you have and help you get perhaps a bit clearer on the things that you would like to see in the world and steps you can take to start making that happen. So it's quite a short show, it'll be about 30 minutes. I'm actually going to show you a couple of videos I've lined up in the Hangout for the first time, so I hope the technology will work. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A, or I should be able to see them. I am not the queen of Google Hangouts yet, so sometimes I have issues with the technology, but hopefully I will see them. And I'm really excited actually because the project that I'm going to talk about today is an American one, and it's one that a friend pointed out to me. And it's something that I've done, something a little bit similar, and I love it. So I'm really excited to show it to you in case you haven't heard of it. And even if you have, I suspect you haven't because it's quite well known, but it's not, nationally known. And actually, something that I wanted to share with you that can inspire you is that I actually worked with a lady that was part of the Peace One Day organization. Now, you might have heard of that because that is becoming very big now. It's basically a British charity, NGO, which was created by one guy, Jeremy, who wanted, he had the idea that across the world, all countries could stop war for one day, on one day that was agreed by, as many countries as they can get to sign the agreement. And even if there's a civil war, even if there's, bloody battles, that everyone would put down their arms just for this one day, September 21st. And so this began in Jeremy's living room in London, in his mum's living room, I think. He had no money at all, but he had this idea, and he knew that the idea was a powerful one, and he wanted to help bring it onto the planet. And so that's what he's done. He's been lobbying for the past few years, governments and the UN, to actually put this day of peace into place. And I just thought to bring it up with you because I saw on my Facebook newsfeed a few days ago that they're having a fundraising event where I am here. At the moment, I'm staying very close to Monaco. In the background, that's an island called Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat. I'm in Villefranche-sur-Mer. If none of those names make any sense, don't worry. It's the south of France, basically. And Monaco, as you probably know, is one of the most expensive places in the world. And Peace One Day is having a fundraiser there. And the tickets are 800 euros each. And when I saw that, to me, it was so cool because it's come such a long way from, one guy in his living room making phone calls, hoping that someone will be interested and have the same vision as him. And he managed to get some celebrities and actors on board. And they now do an annual concert on the 21st of September. And they have people like Jude Law going. I actually went to one of these concerts in London. I saw Annie Lennox, Jude Law, the Eagles, I think, and some other bands that I cannot remember now. But it was a great evening, and the point is that it brings awareness to how much war there is still going on in the world, and it's like a pro-peace challenge, and that's something that I believe in really strongly, is that no matter who you are, you probably have some dreams for the world and for things that you don't really see around you, but you know that they could be possible here. And sometimes that can be a bit of a lonely thing because people can get so caught up in living their lives that they don't really talk about that stuff. And other people will say, well, you shouldn't get involved in other people's business. You should just get on with your own life. But I don't agree with that, because I believe that, the environment, the resources of the planet, there's something that we all can take care of. And so when you start to think in that way, you think outside of yourself, and that's personally what gets me excited, makes my soul come alive. And doing these calls, since I started to do more activism, has really sort of contributed to me. So I hope this will contribute to you. So enough of me talking. If you have a vision, changes you would like to see in the world, those of you that are on, because there's quite a few of you, feel free to tell me. I'd love to share them in the Q&A, and I might eventually make this more interactive, like create a group on Facebook. I'm sort of thinking about what to do with the this group, but at the moment I'm going to share with you this project called Hunting Happiness. And just to give you a bit of background, it's started in California, and basically what it does is they've taken the traditional lemonade stand that kids have, and they've changed it. So instead of having lemonade, they give out love and aid. And so these are people that get together, and they put stands in the streets or at events, and they give free hugs to people. They give them like candies or cookies, and people can write letters to other people, like letters of friendship, even to strangers, and they put them in a bowl, and you take one, and then you read it, and then, or they get gifts from local businesses. And so let me just show you, actually, because I think it'll probably be more fun than just listening to me talk about it. So I'll show you what they do, and hopefully this is where the technology should work. Let's see if it Okay. Okay, cool. So hopefully you saw that. That's the first time I've ever done that. um, so that was something they did about a year ago. And basically, Happiness Project is started by a woman, Sarah Leahy, and her idea was that she wanted to spread happiness around people and in people she saw. And she was always sort of kind of, it reminded me of my story because she said she would always see all this struggle and people being unhappy around her, and she didn't have a very happy time growing up. She was kind of always under the threat of being adopted because of problems at home, and so she started this organization to go and spread random acts of kindness. And they actually, you might be thinking, well, how do they all do all of that? They got Indiegogo funding to go and do a world tour. So they actually went to New Zealand, to Australia. Let me just check their site because I will probably forget all the names. They went to other places in America, and they basically did these challenges. So they got funding from crowdfunding sources. And what they do, other initiatives they've done is they will give high fives, or they'll go to like they'll make cookies as well. And they go like, when kids were doing Easter egg hunts, they went out and like gave happiness to people. So gave them free hugs, or like a little sticker or a cookie, or the things I mentioned before. To focus on free hugs, cookies, stickers, and letters of friendship. So that's it. I wanted to show you them because I just found that really inspiring. I'm curious to know if they're doing more now. I'll actually just show you my screen so that you can see their website if you want to get more information about them. And I just find this really interesting because I did some videos a little bit like this on my own, actually, just going out and giving people free cookies, or giving them free, like giving letters of friendship as well. And it's just quite interesting to see other people doing this too. So here are some of their projects. Their website is huntinghappinessproject.com, and they call it a World Happiness Movement. So they have a really active Facebook page, which is here. And what you can do is you can donate love and aid. So you can actually donate air miles to them. And they've been around since 2010. So what they do now is their page is very active. It doesn't seem that they've done any more tours since the one I just showed you the video of, but you can get more information about them here and go to their website. And it's just a very inspiring project because, this has just come out of one woman's head, her idea, and she's built up, a following around it. They've got travel around. They've got all kinds of, they've got a big team doing it. And this, to me, is a lovely example of conscious activism because it's not getting angry about how people are unhappy or how people are, aren't very kind to each other sometimes. They're just saying, look, we could speak to each other, we could be nice to each other, we can show love to each other. Let's do it. And so they have all these people working with them, and this is what they do: love and aid. Join the movement. You can donate money. And actually, something that occurred to me as I was looking through this website is something I personally believe in. I'll just pop back on here. Is often when you look at sites like this, you kind of pick up on this undertone of, they're doing great stuff, but they might not necessarily have the funding there to do it. I've worked in the not-for-profit sector, or for-purpose sector, as some people are calling it now, which I really like. And I know personally that that can be a constant struggle, understanding where your next subsidy is going to come from, or who's going to fund you, how many donations can you get from people. And so something that I personally believe is that one of the best ways to create change in the world is to just become very wealthy yourself and fund some of it yourself. Instead of, I used to spend hours writing funding applications and literally massive, whole weekends writing applications and business plans, and something I realized is that you can create a lot of change if you're willing to create money. And if you look at some of the most successful visionaries in the world, they've actually been amazing creators of money. Like Mother Teresa, she took a vow of poverty in her lifetime, and everyone coming into her organization had to do that too. But she was an excellent fundraiser. She raised millions and millions. Like, it's mind-blowing how much, you know. I read interviews where people in her organization said that they couldn't even keep track of it, to be honest. You know, they sometimes had a lot of money knocking around in their bank accounts, according to, you know, as I'm saying that, according to some of the people who worked for the organization. But they had a lot of money coming in. And Mother Teresa understood that, you know, if you want to do stuff on this planet, it requires money. You know, one of the first things she had to do was begging for money for the first convent that she wanted to create. So she's so inspiring. She left a very comfortable nunnery and went and begged on the streets of Delhi to get supplies and money from people so she could start her own center, because she'd had this vision from God, she says, that this is what she wanted to do. So then she recognized that money would help her to make that happen, and she was willing to create it. So that's something that I believe is, you know, that's just my personal belief, that, you know, it's a lot more fun to be an activist when you have money and you can put money towards things than when you're just kind of constantly using up a lot of your mental energy trying to survive, you know, trying to be able to feed yourself and feed the organization. So that's just an extra side note. I noticed that as I was going through their website, because there were so many donate buttons, that I was thinking, you know, how awesome would it be if there was just a different perspective around things like this. So not-for-profit doesn't have to mean poor. And I'm not saying they're poor, but you know, I'm just you know, drawing attention to that you can do stuff like this and create a lot of money in the process. So the things to take away from that project are that, you know, she's built a movement around one idea. You know, that's all it takes to start a movement or to start something. And you might be thinking, well, I don't want to start a movement. I just know I would like to help change the world somehow. And that's totally fine, you know. In fact, that's where I've been a lot of the time myself, actually. And what I found is that if you just keep asking the universe for guidance, or asking, you know, God, or whatever you call the things that are bigger than us, you know, you'll get a sense of where to go, where to put your energy, and you'll be drawn to things that help you do that. You don't have to think it all out in advance. I used to do that a lot, like try and plan out. I was going to create an organization at one point with a colleague, and we were planning out the whole thing, and it's good to have plans, but it's also good to follow your gut. And I would really recommend doing that. And so just before we finish, something that will help you get more clarity is to ask yourself, you know, what changes would I like to see in the world? You might have heard me talking about this before, but I just know a lot of people don't get that clarity, or they don't really take action on it because they just don't really believe they can help to create it. And I want to say to you, yes, you can. You know, Steve Jobs once said that a major thing that helped him become who he became was that he realized one day that the world around us was made up by people that were no smarter than him, no smarter than you, no smarter than me, you know. And there's no reason why, if you have an amazing idea, you can't start to put it into action, you know. And I really hope that tuning into this show will help you realize that you can do that. And if you have ideas, or you want to, you know, just connect with me, then add me on Facebook. That's honestly where I'm the most active. I don't really use Google Plus that much. I might change that in the future, but I don't really use Twitter either. I like Pinterest and Facebook. But I'd love to hear from you if you have ideas, things that you would like to see in the world, because there are things that I would like to see. And so I know that the more steps we take, the more clear you are. You know, I even wrote out, I have it, not where I am now because we're sort of traveling here, but I have on a piece of paper the things I would like to see in the world, and I have it up in my house where I see it every day. And the reason I do that is because every time I leave the house, it's there on my mind. So, you know, becoming the change is really embodying that all the time. You know, it doesn't make sense to want to have a kinder world and then to go and be mean to a bus driver, you know. And I found that sometimes under pressure, or if I was running late, or if someone kind of got angry with me, I was surprised to realize that I could be mean as well. And it's becoming honest with yourself and seeing where you do act like that, and where you've kind of been also conditioned to act like that, so that you can choose differently the next time, become more aware of it, and not make yourself feel bad, because I've done that too, you might have done too. But just becoming aware of it so that you can change your behavior the next time. And also, by writing it out, you start to bring it more into a reality, you know. You'll find people coming up and telling you about things that are relevant to what you've got on your wall, or projects, or you see things on Facebook where you get ideas, and it will just speed up the process of you know, manifestation. People who do this for their own personal lives, and I believe we can help do it for the changes that we'd like to see in the world. You don't just have to accept the status quo and things as they are now, because if you look around, that's exactly what so many people do accept. It's like we're living in the Matrix, you know. So many people don't really believe they can create any real change unless they're a politician or a mega billionaire. And what I want to say to you, and with this show, is that that's exactly the reason why you can have an impact. Because so many people don't believe they can. They don't do anything about the things they would like to see. So that if you do, you will stand out, and you'll become a leader in whatever you want to accomplish. And you'll start to bring those things into your reality. You know, like this young woman who created the Hunting Happiness project. That was an idea, but she took action, and she built, you know, an organization around it. And that's continuing on today and inspiring people. So, you know, that's the beauty of an idea and of acting on it. So I hope that whatever ideas you have, that you're encouraged. I would encourage you to take like one little step towards it after this hangout. I'm actually going to do that too, because I've realized that something I would like to see more in the world is more kindness, and I actually started making some videos about that. But also, I would like to help plant more sea coral, because there's loads of corals that are dying out in all the oceans across the world, like 70%. And a lot of people don't realize that. And if those sea coral dies, then obviously fish can't really eat anymore, and fishes are already being hunted out. But there's a real kind of crisis going on in the waters. So I would love to be able to just pay for gardens to grow more, and that's going on already. You can donate to gardens. So I'm going to commit to reading more about that, and becoming more aware of it, and getting clear about what I would actually like to help fund. So, you know, that's an example of what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean you have to go and do it today, but starting to make it happen, you know, writing it down so that it's not just up here, it starts to help make it a part of reality, you know. Like who is it, T. Herveka, he says that when you write things on a computer, you write with your mind, and when you write things down, you write with your heart. And I really believe that. I have to show you something. I have a journal someone gave me. It actually talks about God. I have to say, I'm not actually religious. I definitely believe in the universe, but this was a gift, a lovely gift from a friend. And I actually write down ideas I have in here about anything, and I also write things I'm grateful for. But I've realized that I've tended to do this more for my business and my work, which is kind of linked to activism. But I'm going to start doing it for bigger things, not because I want to be Mother Teresa, but because I believe that we all have the capacity to create ripples of change. But we have to know that, and we have to start owning it. And so that's a way to start owning it. You know, looking at what changes you would like to see in the world, and realizing that you can play a part in making them happen. Like this young woman in California who created the Hunting Happiness project. And actually, I'll just finish with a quick story to illustrate the power of a project like that. And she has a TED Talk that you can watch where she talks about this. And she shares how she was actually on a bus, and next to a young guy who looked quite shy, and they got talking. And she told him about what she did, and he was like, "Oh my God, I would never do anything like that. I don't feel good around people, and I kind of go out of my way not to be around other people, because he's had so many situations where he just, you know, felt bad being around others." maybe he was bullied or picked on, you know, those kinds of things. And so she was like, oh, well, people can be kind as well, and they can be nice, and they can show you love. You know, this is what my project does. We go out and do this. We're not getting paid to do it. We just do it because we want to. And you know, people get really touched by it. And so she told him this story, blah blah blah. She thought that she would probably never hear from him again because they were on such a different path. You know, she was doing stuff with people, he didn't like people. And the funny thing was that 2 weeks later, he actually contacted her and said that their conversation had started to change his life because he had realized that he was really cutting himself off from people. And so he actually started to be more social, and he'd met a girl and fallen in love. You know, in just 2 weeks. I thought that was amazing. I even wondered if he fell in love with her, but I don't think he did. It was actually like another person. But just to show, you know, things can really turn around, and you telling one person about what you're doing, or something, an action you're inspired to take after watching this show, you never know what impact that could have on someone else. And something personal I can share that recently happened to me was that I made a video at Christmas time about making an energy vision board. So putting the things that you would like to see in your life and in the world, you can mix it up on a board that you see all the time. And not just like the cliches of what people think you should have, you know, like a Ferrari and a tall, dark husband or blonde woman, you know, not just the cliches, like the pictures that really make you feel like, oh yeah, I'd love to have that in my life. And so a man contacted me in France and said that he was paraplegic after a car accident a few years ago, and that he'd been inspired to make a vision board from my video. And he was asking me questions, you know, like, should I put pictures of myself before the accident walking, or should I put pictures of other people? And I said to him, well, you know, pick the pictures that make you feel the best. If you feel really sad when you look at the pictures of you before the accident, maybe that's not such a great idea, because every time you look at it, you'll just feel sad. But if you feel inspired because you feel like, yeah, I'm going to get back to that level of being able to walk, you know, and obviously he's paraplegic, so, but I do believe that, you know, progress can always be made. Then go for those pictures. But cut a long story short, I just found that amazing that a paraplegic person would contact me about a vision board video, and was inspired to start dreaming again, you know, and really putting it out to the universe that he wants to have more mobility and get into better shape. Because there are amazing turnaround stories. So I just found that made me a bit teary-eyed, to be honest, when I saw his email. So you never know what impact you could have on someone, you know, just with one action that you take. So I encourage you to, you know, if you don't really know what things you would like to see in the world, then have a look at that. And I actually created a sheet about this. I will post it in the event so that you can download it. If you can't find it for any reason, then just message me on Facebook or add me as a friend and message me, and I shall send it to you. It's this 10-step list to help you understand, you know, the changes you would like to see in the world. It doesn't take that long to do. And then ask yourself, you know, what's one thing I could do this week towards that? Because I guarantee you, the fact that you're watching this, there's probably a part of you that will start to sing when you do that. Because sometimes people will say to me, and I'll just say this before I finish here, sometimes people are like, oh, you know, people are doing that for kind of weird reasons. You know, they kind of doubt the motives. And I've been there too, because I had at one point I started to question myself and think, maybe I want to do all this activism because I'm actually a bad person. And I'm like trying to cover it up or something. And I realized it took me a while, but that's just not true. You know, sometimes for whatever reason, it's just something that you can enjoy, and why not do it is what I say. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I shall put the link to Hunting Happiness's social media stuff. And by the way, they have no idea I was doing this hangout. I'm not linked to them in any way. I just got inspired by them and wanted to share them. So I shall put information about them and a link for that sheet as well. So that's it from me. I hope this has inspired you to realize that you can have more impact in the world than you might know, and that anything really can start to change, even if it seems like the change is so massive. You know, if nobody does anything, nothing ever will change. So just taking some steps will start to help. So thank you for watching. I shall see you next week. This has been Sandy Levesque, and have a great evening. Goodbye.